Mr. C. Good morning, Mr. C.
Good morning, Thomas. Good morning, Extension and West.
I expect that AB Bozimo will be joining us this morning, and as soon as it does, it will be joining the show. But let's get into the papers this morning, Mr. C. Begin with the Daily Trust newspaper, and it says that meant to build 1,000 houses in 7 states, approves 50 billion to tackle Northwest banditry. That's according to the Daily Trust newspaper.
Thank you, Thomas. So the Vice President, who incidentally is former governor of the state, was in the state over the weekend, where the incumbent governor was commissioning 77 projects, which ostensibly were started or were completed within the 100-day and the first 100 days of the second term in office. And as part of his recorded statements, he did say that the federal government was planning to construct 1,000 houses in 6 out of the 7 Northwest states and Benue states as part of a broader plan the collateral initiative to cushion the effects of the lingering security crisis. Now, these 1,000 houses will be supported or will be fortified with ancillary facilities such as schools, clinics, veterinary clinics, and ranches with income communities. Now, I must stress this very carefully. The federal government doesn't have money for this project. The money simply isn't there, and they can pretend to the world that it is, that money does exist, but it doesn't. But even if the money existed, I've always been of the firm opinion that when it comes to private businesses, it is the duty of the federal government to create an enabling environment, but not to fund or support the private businesses over an extended period of time. So what am I doing? The federal government, last time I checked, cattle rearing is a private business. Create an enabling environment, get private sector partners to come in and build these ranches, then the private sector participants can then invoice or bill the clients who have the ranches, and they will have to pay. When the government goes into the business of providing ranches, if the ranches are not maintained, they will fall into disrepair and then subsequently be abandoned, and we're back to square one. And the problem which was sought to be solved by creating the ranches will still remain unsolved. So we need the private sector guys who take care of this. But beyond all of this, all these declarations, we want to build 1,000 houses, no timeline, no expected delivery date. How do we hold them to account? How do we know that they're meeting the timelines all the way behind?
Okay, let's get so that's there must be a timeline for you to.
There must be timelines, and they should be very clear. How is this being funded? Because Nigerians have an obligation, have a right to know how government projects will be funded, and over what period of time. When do they expect, or like I said, when will all the houses be delivered? Is it the first term? Is it the second term? Or is it 20 years down the line?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. C, for breaking that down for us this morning. But let's let the listener know that they can be part of this conversation. They send the messages to 009444091. That will be WhatsApp messages only. Regularly, that's when we come to the show. So
I'm sorry, I can't hear anything.
Okay, I guess we'll have to sort out the network.
I don't know what
comes back.
I can't hear anything here.
Let's get into the next
Apologies.
headline there, Mr. C, and that is Northeast governors. This is more also related in a way, because we're still talking about the North moving away from building ranches and houses to sort out issues relating to herding of cattle and the rest. But this one speaks to the Northeast governors decrying banditry and illegal mining. So I'd like you to stitch these two stories up for us now.
Okay, so thank you, Master. Very quickly. When I read stories like this, I think that's disappointed. What do the Northeast governors mean by the cry in Banditry and illegal mining? First of all, there was a gazette passed, I think sometime last year, early this year, to the effect that all these individuals being described as bandits are actually terrorists. Now, beyond all of that, mining falls under the current legislative list and not under the exclusive. That's why crude oil is exclusive preserve of the federal government. The exploration, the production, and every associated activity is exclusive preserve of the federal government. But mining falls to the states. Now, the state governors are being economical with the truth when they say that certain traditional rulers have been involved with these terrorists and illegal miners. If you know they have been involved, what exactly have you done about it? Have you deposed any traditional ruler who's been found to have colluded with these elements? Have you arraigned any traditional ruler? Have you arrested any illegal miner? So it goes beyond coming to the public domain to complain. What steps have they taken? Now, all these mining activities, if they were properly regulated, they would have brought in additional revenue to each of the coffers of these state governments, and then it will boost the internally generated revenue. Have they done that? So I'm not sure what coming to the public domain to cry about will do. They've seen their colleagues in some of the other states and the Federation, particularly in the South, enact laws setting up state security outfits. Have they done any of that?
Okay, so well, you are the lawyer, so we might also want to ask, is the Constitution, do we have enabling laws that would guarantee state policing? So that's another question again.
Okay, so debate about state policing is still on. However, you can set up a force that is not armed. The distinction comes when it comes to the issue of them bearing arms.
You talked that they are bandits now. So what's use you want to chase people bearing arms with batons?
No. So here's the thing. When you set up your outfits, the idea behind setting up your state outfits is they know the run of the land. So they will then liaise with the existing agencies that are authorized to bear weapons, and then they coordinate their operations to ensure that the state is crime-free. But we find that more often than not, that is not the case, despite the huge security votes that are given to them.
Well, that seemed like saying they should become more like human shields. That's what it's seeming like. But I'm just saying, but let's get on to the next story, because the listener would also have their own say on the issues this morning. But let's go to AB Bozimo this morning. AB, good morning to you. All right, so you just have to unmute. Yes.
Good morning. Sorry, a few network issues.
It's okay. It happens on days like this sometimes. It's a Monday. So let's get into the next story you're looking at this morning for us. We appreciate your commitment also to national discourse. This is from the Daily Trust newspaper. Zulum urges federal government and governors to address flood situation on farmers' behalf. That's from the Daily Trust. Speak on this.
Yes. Everyone recalls, especially most recently, the very devastating floods that happened last year. Flooding has been an occurrence, but I think last year was unprecedented in the way it swallowed up entire swathes of the country and really cut communication between very important routes, and the effects are still existing. At the time, then President Buhari gave some people who clearly didn't listen to him 90 days to come up with a solution. I would say as of today, I have not heard one word from any of the people who were that
Avi, you have to disconnect and come back again. Okay, so Mr. C, you'd have to bail us out on this one while AB tries to reconnect once again. The network is really acting up from his end.
Okay,
so could you take up that issue?
Jump on the body was supposed to be
Some of the things people talked about would include Italy cannot
then take the necessary steps to deal with this. Now, my challenge with this seemingly late response is they appear to be discussing what they will do, not what they are already doing. And again, why are we always reactive? Why are we very ever proactive? Because these are things that we should have started working on them since the last flood. What steps have you taken, for example, to mitigate losses that will be suffered by rice farmers? What steps have you taken to ensure that even the produce that can be rescued this year is properly stored and preserved, pending when it can be taken to the market centers to be sold? What steps have you taken to ensure that more Nigerians are not unfortunately displaced internally this year as a result of the floods? So the questions, very few answers. And I wish we didn't always have to respond this way to issues.
Okay, that looks like another one for us to drift into this next story. Let's go to this one. It's something quite disturbing in a way. Let's see, it's coming in here, and fuel subsidy removal. Government, the governors get 7 days to disclose how they spent 2 billion naira palliative. That's coming from the Daily Trust newspaper.
Okay, so thank you. This is coming from Sarah, and we must commend them for the work they do, because outside Sarah, very few individuals or organizations are actually trying to hold the government to any form of accountability. Now, what Sarah is doing is actually what the National Assembly should be doing, it's what the houses of the Assembly should be doing, but they've, for whatever reason, chosen to concentrate on different matters. So what Sarah is saying is that each state government in the country provide an account of how you disperse 2 billion naira cash and any other form of funding, whether cash or material, that you distribute as palliatives. Now, let's not hold our breath out. Many of the states will not comply with this directive, and Sarah will once again be obliged to court. Now, it speaks to the growing impunity of them and the growing lack of accountability and transparency that Sarah even has to request for this, because one would think that any government at national or subnational level, which is open, transparent, and accountable, would openly display these details of the disbursements to show that it's trying to make a clean break from all previous administrations. But alas, that is not the case, and we can expect another lawsuit, because the state governments will not comply, and part of the excuses will be we haven't ratified the Freedom of Information Act. But the Constitution and the African Charter give the right to that.
All right, we're at a red light right now, so we need to quickly go for this one. When we come back, there's still more papers to pick up, and we expect you to get the messages as they're piling up right now on 0809-444-0981. We are Smooth 98.1 FM.
Best of everything in the morning, and four. A little less conversation, a little more action. Weekday mornings, 6 to 10. Are you looking for a reliable way to grow your money? Let me tell you about ARM. ARM is one of the largest non-bank financial institutions with over 29 years of expertise in money management and wealth creation. So
because AP's network is in, and it's not
all about ensuring your financial goals are met with ease, no matter who you are. Now, whether it's growing your money in safe, well-managed investments or important goals like school fees, personal development, vacation, rent, buying a property, or preparing for the future, ARM has got you covered. We all know there are a lot of apps out there promising to grow your money, but ARM has everything you need to go from where you are to where you need to be. Start your wealth creation journey today by downloading the ARM One app from Google Play Store or iOS Store. There are great options for everyone. You even start with as low as 1,000 naira, just 1,000 naira. For more information, visit arm.com.ng or call 01-271-5002. That's 01-271-5002. ARM, let's face tomorrow together.
Back. So I'll put some message and then come to you. We're smooth. 98.1 FM is still freshly pressed. It is the 11th day of September 2023, and Mr. C is still here. And I'm owing to network connection, AB Bozimo may not join us till the end of the show. So we just hope you understand. Let's go to the messages this morning as they pile up for us this morning. So let's see. Let's begin from Emeka. Emeka sends in this one from Ikeja relating to the housing project by the federal government. Is another way to loot fund. These projects like refineries will remain uncompleted and abandoned. That's according to Emeka from Ikeja. Did not even started, as Mr. C was asking, where would they find the money at this time? Well, then Ben comes in Benaig Aigbogie from Lagos saying, with all the political will, with the right political will, the bandits and their cohorts within the military could be flushed out within a week if there is no conspiracy within the ruling class. That's relating to the story of the banditry and how it's affecting mining and all of those things you talked about, Mr. C, earlier on. I've got Abbas Oladepo coming in here with this one. Airline, maritime, food, and electricity distribution businesses are all private, but the government has supported all of them. We have been seriously faced with issues of insecurity because of herders and farmers. Providing houses for internally displaced people and building ranches are still some ways of checking this devil. We need every solution to control all the problems we have up north. That's according to Abbas Oladepo. If one area of the country is unsettled, it means the rest of the country is also unsettled because they would be drifting to the part that seemed to be settled. And then there's a displacement and a scramble for resources in those other areas. Let's get into this one from IO, sent in this one from Lagos saying, good morning, freshly pressed. The housing project for the Northeast is key to managing security and ranching to curb the herders' fracas. Anyone will agree that is now or never. I have a quick response to this. I think the PSP approach, as a private sector approach, is what the government is considering, and we can't always say we should wait for 100% privatization of everything. It says if they are not intervening, we are the ones who shout out that they want to. I'm trying to connect the last part of your message, but then so far, just what I can make out for now. Then Austin comes in here saying, good morning. The federal government wants to build ranches and 1,000 houses in all states. And they have come together in another strategy. And this is what a certain rejoin have been planning for a long time. The match, it goes on. And then Austin from Satellite, why? Let's see the positive side of the issues here. Let's go on to get David's Umo sent from Ikoyi comes in. In some specific situation, government intervenes in such businesses like housing, ranching, etc., to kickstart development in some regions that private individuals don't want to embark on, might be probably due to challenges, security, erosion, etc. for government. So government build and recover money from individuals. That's what David has to say about that one. I get this one from Shegun. I always wish we have a vibrant and purposeful opposition. This is the opportunity to shine. Imagine the governors of opposition parties reply Serap with opposition parties reply Serap with details of how they spent subsidy funds. This will make the ruling APC governor stand up and improve our democracy. That's according to Shegun. Just keep the messages coming on to 0809-444-0981. So far, interesting conversation from that platform, WhatsApp. Keep the messages coming on. So, Mr. C, we're going to pick up next train of thought from this story. And this one comes in from, let's quickly get this paper up just a moment, just trying to load now. Okay, it's here for us. 400,000 health workers insufficient for Nigeria. That's according to the Minister of the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate.
Okay, thank you, Omas. So the coordinating minister for health and social welfare was speaking over the weekend. Most interestingly, journalists in Abuja say that 400,000 health workers was insufficient. I want to believe that figure is incorrect because we have a notoriously poor attitude towards keeping proper records in Nigeria. Our records are notoriously inaccurate and insufficient. But let's even assume for the purposes of this conversation that 400,000 workers is the actual figure. Of course, that's insufficient. We must factor in a number of things. We must factor in the poor economic climate. We must factor in poor working conditions. We must factor in the fact that immigration has set in, and many foreign countries have opened up, offered easy routes to immigration for our health workers. And it's no surprise that they are all elected to vote with their feet and seek better lives outside the country. So he was speaking to the fact that we need to ramp up this figure. And I agree with him that we need to get the private sector guys in to increase and improve the value chain of the healthcare sector so that more people will be attracted. But beyond that, we need to show mid-term to long-term that there's a viable path from studying medicine and the related disciplines in school to having a career, getting married, having kids, training them through university. And once you cannot offer that, you cannot show prospective students that clear path to a settled and good life. It will be challenging getting people to go into study this discipline because we must not rule out the facts that they take a long time to study without even incorporating the now traditional and obligatory ASU strike that will happen maybe once or twice during the 4-year course or 5-year course. Then poor funding of hospitals, poor remuneration packages, poor equipping of hospitals, poor maintenance. The list can go on, and poor public supply. So what the coordinating minister needs to do, he needs to come up with a national healthcare plan, maybe for the next 10 years.
Okay.
And then with clear timelines, clear vision points on how each point will be funded, how each point will be actualized, and clear dates, timelines, and we can mark the progress. Because if we don't do that, even this number will shrink further, because now we even have some of our West African neighbors offering escape routes.
Okay, Mr. C, that's a fine place to let that paper slide for now as we get more response coming in from the listener this morning on 0809-444-0981. What's your reaction to any of the headlines so far we've treated? We'd like to hear from you. So far, we've looked at a couple of issues from the papers this morning. We began with the story coming in from the federal government to build 1,000 houses in 7 states, approved 50 billion naira to tackle Northwest banditry. That's from the Daily Trust. We also had time to look at something coming in from the Punch newspaper. Northeast governors decry rising banditry, illegal mining. That was also treated a while ago, and we've gotten some response coming in from you also in that regard. And then also there was the people who picked up the Daily Trust. Fuel subsidy removal. Governors get 7 days to disclose how they spent 2 billion naira palliative they got from the federal government. So that's according SERAP issuing that ultimatum now. 7 days or else what? Then, sometimes I'm tempted to believe SERAP is a political party, SERAP, but they just have their hand in so many pies in terms of, demanding for accountability and all of those. So most times I wonder, what did SERAP say then, like such an issue like this? So let's get to the next one also. We also have course to look at, and Zulum urges federal government to address flood situation on farmers' behalf. Very important if we are to get food security. Then we also had this one also. We just treated 400,000 health workers, insufficient for Nigerian minister. That's according to the Nigerian minister speaking there. And next, we would see a message coming in from Ibukun from Omole. It says, have the farmers, the herders indicated interest and commitment to ranch? Ranching is technical and scientific, even in growing the grass. Have they addressed training, seed for the grass, and processing to enhance the value chain? If care is not taken, government may end up using state funds for people with funds to ranch, while the nomadic cattle rearing attendant issues and conflict will continue. That's from Ibukun from Omole. So let's get on to this next story, Mr. C. This one you would want to help us quickly address now. Okay, United Air is the issue. United Nigeria gets approval for flights to USA, UK, UAE, others. That's according to the Vanguard newspaper.
Okay, so very quickly, United Nigeria is one of the private airlines operating in Nigeria that's gotten approval from the Minister for Aviation to utilize part of Nigeria's slots under the bilateral air service agreements with each of the following countries: the US, the United States of America, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Italy, Ireland, and the United Arab Emirates. So what it is under the bilateral air services agreement, airlines from each country can operate commercial services to and from. Now, for a very long time, we haven't had airlines from Nigeria use up the Nigerian slots under these agreements. And this is a very good step. And we're watching this space to see whether they're able to utilize all the slots available and open to them. And if they do, we could then see maybe a marginal reduction in the cost of air tickets, because they would want to capture their own share of the local market. And I dare say the Nigerian market for foreign travel is quite substantive, because when you think about it, the price of an economy ticket elsewhere in the sub-region is easily the price of a business class ticket here. So there's a lot of money to be made. And I do hope that this administration will support this private company, not by lending it money, but lending it the necessary political and diplomatic comfort to ensure that it's able to utilize the budget.
And that takes us to land on our final paper this morning, the Punch newspaper. 24 drowned, others missing as boat capsized in Niger. This comes, last time we heard from Kwara was in June, when about 100 persons died in a boat mishap. Here we are, Mr. C, in just a minute, less than.
So our thoughts go out to the families of every reporters, exposed bodies found. And we do hope that this will be a wake-up call to all of the authorities in each of the various states of the federation, and also at the national level, because the reports indicate that the passengers on the boat were not wearing life jackets. Now, it doesn't say at what time they left, but it's possible they left towards the evening. Mm. Now, the bigger question is 24 passengers on the boat. How big was this boat? So was the boat overloaded? Why did it capsize? So there's investigations need to be carried out. And it's only when investigations are carried out that we'll then ascertain the causes of these sorts of incidents and prevent them.
Thank you very much, Mr. C. It's a wrap on Freshly Pressed this morning, but I want to see this message from Ajayi Olonilua. The federal government plans to acquire lands from the states to build ranches. They're still going back to the notorious Ruga policy that has been rejected across the country. Let the state government regulate cattle ranching, rearing as it affects their states. That's from Ajayi. I also have Yinka Bolu on the health roadmap. I think it might not work. Keyword phrase might not. What I think is the solution: let everyone pay for the true worth of studying medicine, and from there pay them accordingly and very well, because there is no way in hell we are going to stop immigration of medical doctors as such. We can't be training them for free and then losing them for nothing. At least while we get ready to lose them, it's only smart we make money from them too. And there is school fees, school fees is a good way out. Of course, if lawyers can pay through their nose to attend law school, why can't doctors also do the same thing? Well, that's what we say. Thank you to everyone who's been part of the conversation this morning. Mr. C, thank you very much. And to all those who sent in messages, Ayo, Austin, Davis, Shogun, Olu from Malacca, and everyone, Idima Puza, I see your message, Gilbert. It's a good morning.